Okay, so this is part 2 of the Yes, We Do Have a Hope for the Future video, where I'm sending a response to Tim Kilgore about why, as a Christian, I believe that it's about a lot more than just having an interpretation that could be wrong of an ancient religious text that could be wrong. So let's hit on what exactly the early Christians did believe about the afterlife. Let's take it to some of their writings. From around 177 AD, from Athenagoras the Athenian. This is in his writing, chapter 24. For such an end to this, I suppose, belong the beast and cattle, not to men possessed with an immortal soul and rational judgment. In other words, cows die and they just die. Men, we do more than just die. We have an immortal soul. We go to be with the Lord. 190, Clement of Alexandria. But we must, as much as possible, subject the soul to a very preparatory exercise, that it may become susceptible to the reception of knowledge. Do you not see how wax is softened and copper is purified in order to receive the stamp applied to it? Just as death is a separation of the soul from the body, so is the knowledge, as it were, the rational death, urging the spirit away and separating it from passions and leading it on to life of well-doing, that it may say with confidence to God, I live as thou wishest. Now, do you hear what Clement had said? Just as death is separation of soul from body. Here's one from Tertullian, around 200 AD. Such severance, however, is quite natural between the soul and body, for when the body is deserted by the soul, it is overcome by death. The soul, therefore, is endued with a body, for were it not corporeal, it could desert the body. Treatise on the Soul, chapter 5. And here's one from Justin Martyr from around 150. The resurrection is a resurrection of the flesh which died, for the spirit dies not. Soul is in the body, without a soul cannot live. The body, when the soul forsakes it, is not, for the body is the house of the soul, and the soul the house of the spirit. These three, in all those who cherish a sincere hope and unquestioning faith in God, will be saved. Let's see. And here's Justin. This is where Justin kind of got his last name, Justin Martyr. He was on trial, and he and his fellow Christians were on trial. They were refusing to sacrifice to the Greek and Roman gods. And the prefect that he was before threatened him with death. And he was basically saying, too bad. And so the prefect said to Justin, Hearken, you who are called learned, and think you know all these true doctrines. If you are scourged and beheaded, do you believe you'll ascend into heaven? And Justin said, I hope that if I endure these things, I shall have his gifts. For I know that to all who have thus lived, there abides the divine favor until the completion of this whole world. Rusticus the prefect said, You suppose then that you will ascend into heaven and receive some kind of recompense? And Justin said, I do not suppose it, but I know and I am fully persuaded of it. And with that, he was basically sentenced to death and was beheaded. Now, what I'm trying to illustrate here is that the early Christians really did have a hope of immortality. And it wasn't just based on Paul saying to be absent from the body and to be present from the Lord. It was part of the overall corpus of apostolic tradition that Irenaeus was talking about. It was being taught by the churches because it was originally taught by the apostles, and it was also reduced to writing by the apostles. So, for me, it's a lot more than just a matter of having a hope in an interpretation of an ancient religious text, interpretation that could be wrong based on an ancient religious text that could be wrong. It's simply witnessing what, Christians taught from just about ground zero on, and that is heartily supported by an ancient religious text. So that is why, I believe that, someday when this old body goes to the earth, I will be very much present with the Lord and with Him. Now, if you're asking me why do I have that hope, if you'd like me to get into that a little more, that wasn't entirely the topic of your video, I'd be happy to expound upon that too. But that's my 2 cents worth on it. Hope it helped you out a bit there.